news in the world of college football. Five-star D lineman recruit Lamar Brown has made his official commitment to LSU. The five-star defensive lineman who is debating between LSU and Texas A&M, 6'4", 285-pounder. He's ranked by 24/7 Sports as the country's #1 defensive lineman and the state of Louisiana's #1 overall prospect. He is a Louisiana native, played high school football in LSU's backyard, and in 2026, he will be attending Louisiana State University. Andrew Ivins, 24/7 Sports Director of Scouting. We weren't sure which way he was going to swing, Texas A&M, LSU. He has decided to stay at home, going to school at LSU. What type of player is Brown?
This is a guy that's going to impact the college football playoff race for years to come. I think outside of the two quarterbacks we have ranked at the top in the 2026 cycle and some of these other guys, we feel the most confident in Lamar Brown. And we've gone back and forth with him, but what really sold us was this offseason, seeing him move around. We didn't know, is he an offensive lineman? Is he a defensive lineman? Well, guess what? It doesn't matter because he would be the #1 ranked interior lineman for us, and he's the #1 ranked defensive lineman for us. He's such a unicorn of a player. We really haven't seen an individual that's pushing 6'5", 285 pounds, that can move the way he does. And for LSU, you want to talk about optics perspective? Yes, he goes to school right there in Baton Rouge. This, in theory, should be a fast break layup for Brian Kelly, but what we have learned in this era of name, image, and likeness is there is no breakaway dunks, right? You have to recruit these individuals. Everyone in your building has to be aligned and on the same page. There were tons and twists and turns when it came to Lamar Brown. A few weeks ago, he said he wasn't going to take an official visit to LSU. Everyone thought he was going to end up at Texas A&M. And for the Tigers, where has the weakness been the past few seasons? It's been on the defensive side of the ball. They were 14th in scoring defense last year in the SEC. Now they got a guy that could potentially impact the snap every single down there in the SEC. So this is huge for LSU and Brian Kelly.
He said that Brian Kelly started recruiting him when he was in 8th and 9th grade, so their relationship goes deep. Now LSU in the rankings just went from 11th to 7th. I mean, that's a pretty big jump from one player. This is now their second five-star recruit that they just signed. How big of a get is this for Brian Kelly and LSU?
Well, it's the third five-star. And again, you want to go back to the optics. Last cycle, LSU had Bryce Underwood, our #1 ranked quarterback, committed for well over a year. And at the buzzer, he flips to Michigan. That was not a good look for Brian Kelly. They had to regroup a little bit. And again, going back to Lamar Brown being right there in town, and this is one they had to get. But hey, when Brian Kelly first arrived in Baton Rouge from Notre Dame, we saw the Tigers take more of a national recruiting approach. And it took a while for Brian Kelly and his staff to, kind of find their footing. Well, you look up now, and they're getting players in-state committed. They're getting guys from SEC country. This will be the third straight cycle they signed the top recruit from the boot, and I think that's so important. On defense, they needed to find guys that look like the LSU defenders of old. Lamar Brown is certainly one of them. You go back to last cycle, they got DJ Pickett, the five-star cornerback. They got Trenton Henderson, a five-star edge rusher, also committed. So these are the guys that made LSU what LSU was on the defensive side of the ball. Yeah, they scored a ton of points there with Joe Burrow, all those wide receivers, but hey, you have to keep other teams out of the end zone, and Lamar Brown is certainly the type of anchor that you want to build around up front.
You want to build around him up front. He's listed as the #1 defensive lineman, the #1 overall prospect out of the state of Louisiana. But we talked earlier about just his skill set and the fact that he's also talented on the offensive line, the interior offensive line as well. What can you say about his playability just to be able to kind of do it all and do it all on both sides?
Yeah, I mean, he's 285 pounds, right? And he moves like a guy that's 255 pounds. His short area quickness, his ability to move in tight quarters, it's so rare. Constantly in control, little wasted motion. And he's also super physical and aggressive. This is a kid that brings it every single snap. And that's why some scouts, some talent evaluators, some of these schools saw him on offense as a guard that you can move into space. He can hit a linebacker at that second level. So the combination of the coordination, his explosive metrics. This is a guy that has won state championships in the shot put. He kind of has that total package, and it's so hard to identify these point of attack players from an early age. So you also have to tip your cap here to LSU. Again, yeah, Lamar Brown goes to school in town, but you still have to recruit these individuals in this name, image, and era likeness. You have to develop those relationships. LSU did just that, and they're getting a guy that could do it on both sides of the ball. It's interesting. It's funny. Lamar Brown, we struggle to find a player comp from him because we haven't seen anyone like this. We haven't seen a guy that's done it on both sides of the ball. Only a handful have done it in the NFL, only a handful in college. Normally it's the perimeter guys. Well, he's one that's doing it in the middle. Yeah, we saw Travis Hunter, what he was able to accomplish last season. Is it fair to say that you've never ranked a prospect in two positions number one overall? Would this be a situation like that? Well, Travis Hunter would certainly be it. But, yeah, I mean, Lamar Brown, I think in the modern recruiting era, he would be the first big boy up front, right, that would have that OL1 tag and that DL1 tag as well. All right. Thanks for joining us so much here as we just break down the news. Andrew Ivins, our director of scouting with 24/7 Sports. Lamar Brown making his commitment. He will be an LSU Tiger. You can stay up to date with all the college sports news, recruiting, transfers, and more at 24/7 Sports.